You know, it's funny. There was a time when it felt like Nintendo games were some of the best of the best. A time where Nintendo games were just unrivaled in quality, in fun factor, just everything about them was just awesome. Nowadays, though, it seems as though since the Switch, Nintendo games have been in somewhat of a decline. Howdy folks, Super Koopa here, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about this thing that's been on my mind, which is Nintendo's somewhat decline, or what exactly is happening with Nintendo games. Now, I'm sure there's plenty of people out there who will disagree with me as to what exactly is going on with Nintendo and why. A lot of people think that there's really nothing wrong, and that Nintendo games are better than ever. I'm gonna have to disagree with a good majority of people on that who think that. I personally believe Nintendo games are on a decline. And the first game I noticed it with was Breath of the Wild. Zelda Breath of the Wild, for everything that it does right, it does so many things wrong, and it tries to do so many things that just aren't Nintendo-like in a negative way, that it really hampers the experience. For instance, it's a big, sprawling open world. Great, cool, awesome. Nintendo's not known for sprawling open worlds outside of maybe Xenoblade Chronicles at that point. Cool. Something new, something Nintendo's just getting used to. Something it can definitely do. That's a cool aspect. I think most people agree with that. Then, they introduce breakable weapons. And combat becomes a chore. It becomes something I don't want to do as opposed to older Zelda games where I did want to do combat, where I did want to fight enemies, where I did want to enjoy myself by just going after whichever enemies I saw. No, you can't do that with these games. Or with Breath of the Wild in particular. I don't know about the sequel. It isn't out as of this video. But I started feeling like, this isn't fun. And then you get to the shrines, and it becomes even less fun. So that was the first sort of sour taste in my mouth a major Nintendo game left me. It wasn't the first time, but most of the time when it happens, you can kind of overlook it. Then Mario Odyssey came out. And when Mario Odyssey came out, I thought, okay, great, another 3D Mario game. I'm really looking forward to this. There hasn't been a solid one since Galaxy 2. So, I'm very excited for this one. It comes out, and it feels empty. It feels incredibly empty. It feels fun to play, fun to control, but the worlds, as many as there are, feel lacking in things to do, and they feel empty. It's sort of a pseudo-open world, but not really, because there's really nothing to do in that open world. There aren't a lot of enemies. It's mostly just platforming for the sake of platforming, and not to really achieve any goals, and that's really, really frustrating for me. So, I played through it, I beat it, thought it was a decent story overall, but I struggled to go back to it. Because, yes, there were bonus power moons and things that you could do afterwards, but I wasn't feeling it. I just wasn't feeling it. I felt like this was the second time Nintendo put a sour taste in my mouth, and it just kept me from wanting to go back and enjoy these games that were so heavily praised and had heaps of praise on them. And then the third time, which is probably the most recent time, was with, let's see here, Mario Strikers Battle League. A game that I was more excited about than any other game this generation. This was the return of easily my favorite Mario sports game in the entire Mario sports game series. And it was finally making a comeback. It gets released. There's very little modes, very few characters. But it's a full retail release. Now, of course, they're releasing characters through DLC. The first character ends up being Daisy, a staple of Mario spin-offs, who's almost always there from the beginning. And she wasn't there from the beginning. And that's what's led me to make this video. Because I don't understand what's going on with Nintendo. Now, some of you can say, oh, these are minor things, they're still great games. Absolutely, I agree. But I feel as though either Nintendo is going through a major transition with their developers and being more experimental in a way that's more harmful and leaves games feeling not as good as they could be, Or maybe they're just taking a different approach with how they choose to fill their worlds. Make them less filled. Focus more on DLC and online aspects, which I really hope is not the case, because that's more of a Western thing, and that just doesn't... That's not why I play Nintendo games. That's not why a lot of people play Nintendo games. People play Nintendo games because they're fun. They've got a fun factor to them. I've got Kirby 64 on screen right now. I almost said on stream. My goodness. I haven't streamed on this channel in years. But this game is fun. Right out of the gate. It's got problems. It feels awkward. It uses the D-pad when there's a perfectly good analog stick. That was a weird design choice. But it's still fun. It's a game that I could probably play through over and over again. It's one that I've never really beaten from start to finish. Well, I did a long time ago, so I don't really remember it. But I mean, it is fun. It's fun to play. The levels are fun to go through. It's fun to experiment. They've got that cool power-up mixing ability. You just saw the fridge on screen. It's fun. Kirby and the Forgotten Lands, still kind of fun. But again, there's that empty worlds feeling. There's that feeling like something is lacking. There's that feeling of just emptiness that is so hard to put into words compared to what you get here. It's less linear in a sense, but also more lacking. And I think that's a big problem with a lot of games that tend to try to be more open-ended. You know, this was the first true 3D Kirby game. I know Forgotten Lands tries to tout itself as one. It's not. It's the second compared to this. But... And Forgotten Lands surprised me because I tried the demo of it. I hated it. The demo was of the very first level, and that is the most shallow level in the entire experience. So that demo left a horrible impression. When I got the full game, it opened up way more, and I was able to give it way more credit than I was before. But overall, it just feels like across the board with their developers, Nintendo is just being very strange. They're being very weird. They've gone away from their roots, and they're focusing more on things that will draw Western audiences as opposed to whatever their original design philosophies were. And Shigeru Miyamoto is still influencing a lot of their games, so I don't understand where this is coming from. It's odd. It might just be sign of the times. Nintendo's just trying to change with the times in some ways, because that's a lot of the criticisms they get from people who don't play Nintendo games. Is that they're not Western enough. They don't need to be Western enough. They're Nintendo. You know, Nintendo has a brand that's established. They've got a quality that's established. But then there's also the issue of they've got so many franchises that they are just sitting on. And they don't do anything with them. What was it, a guy who spent several $1,000s to ask Nintendo what they were going to do with F-Zero, and they basically just said, thanks, we're considering it. I mean, that's ridiculous. They should know full well that F-Zero is a franchise that people have been clamoring for years. Another entry in the Earthbound series. Heck, another Golden Sun. When they finally started releasing Metroid again with Metroid Samus Returns and then Metroid Dread, people were over the moon, and the games did fantastic. But they've got so many of these franchises they sit on, and I don't know if it's just these longer development cycles or what the case is, but it's just weird. They could be making so much money with just releasing multiples of these franchises, and they could plan it out so that way they're not overwhelming developers and development teams, but rather they could have some quality releases of some of these major first-party titles. We haven't seen F-Zero since the GameCube. And that's sad. I never even fully played GX. I think I played it once. I may have rented it once, but I never bought it. It's something I would like to go back and try and find and play. But I played a lot of X, and X is terrific. In fact, I was originally going to use some X footage I recorded for this video, but the Kirby footage seemed to be better for length and just better gameplay overall. But it's a strange phenomenon. And I'm sure other people have noticed what I'm talking about. Maybe some people feel like it went that way in a different era, excuse me. Maybe the Wii era, maybe the Wii U. Heck, maybe even the DS or the 3DS. The 3DS was solid. I think the 3DS was Nintendo's last true generation that felt consistent. Most of the 3DS games that I played were awesome. All of the mainline Kirby games were awesome. Planet Robobot and Triple Deluxe were both incredible. But yet, when we get over to the Switch, the first Kirby game we get is Star Allies, and it's like Kirby Superstar 2.0, but worse. A lot of people don't seem to think that Star Allies was very fun. I agree with them. Even though I'm pretty sure... Did I play through it once or twice? I think I did it once. I may have done a Let's Play on my old channel and scrapped that. I can't remember. But either way, it just... And they kept adding content to that, so bravo to them, but it just wasn't that engaging of a Kirby game. It just didn't feel that great to play. It felt like it was way too focused on the multiple characters aspect, and it just kind of took away the spotlight from Kirby himself. Which is a shame, because I like the level design in that game. In Forgotten Lands, like I said, it's fun, but it's different. I mean, it just... I did beat it, but I haven't gone back to it since. There's been no real motivation to. Next up is Kirby's Dream Buffet, which is another spin-off. That's been more fun than I've anticipated. I was really skeptical about that one, because you've got a $15 game that looks like Nintendo's version of Fall Guys. So it's like, huh, this could work, but I mean, are they going to continue to add stuff to it? And what's there is fine. What's there is a lot of fun, which is great. It's great to see HAL Labs creating something on form with Kirby. But I thought that gameplay loop would get old, and it sort of has, honestly. I've been 2 days into it, and already it's feeling a little boring at times, because now I'm just trying to grind to unlock stuff. But it's still fun. It's still a game that I would be like, huh, I'm in the mood to play this. I'm going to pick up and play it. But not Breath of the Wild, not Mario Odyssey, not these major titles. Metroid Dread, maybe. But Metroid is one of those games for me where I'm in it for the long haul because of how difficult they get. Still haven't beaten the final boss of Dread. He is something. Spoiler alert, if you haven't faced the final boss in Dread, it's tough. Very tough. But, this whole thing with Nintendo's design philosophy seemingly changing. It's like, yeah, the characters look the same. Some of the worlds look the same, and it's not even about being the same. It's about just consistent fun factor, drawing you back into the world once you've left it. They haven't been able to do that with Forgotten Lands, with Breath of the Wild, with Mario Odyssey, and these are my experiences. You might have the complete opposite experience, so I just want to really make that clear, because this video is a matter of opinion. I'm just expressing something that I feel, and maybe you might feel the same, maybe you feel different, but I just want to put it out there because it's been bothering me. Because I want to get excited. Like, we've got Splatoon 3 on the way, which is coming out in, I think, like a month or two. And I want to get excited about that. That looks, for the most part, it's 2.0, or 2.5. A lot of people have called it Splatoon 2.5. And then those who try to counter it say, well, there's more there than just a 2.5. Well, in a way, yes, but gameplay-wise, it's the same engine, it's the same gameplay style. Nothing wrong with that, because I like 2. 2 was incredible. And I'll definitely get 3. But I'm wondering if for some people that feeling extends to Splatoon 3. That feeling of Nintendo not really creating a fun gameplay loop experience. I think for that, it's more so people feeling like they get too much more of the same, but that's not really what we're talking about here. We're talking about Nintendo just changing for the worse, not for the better. I would like to see more fun single-player experiences from Nintendo that draw me back in. I wanted the Switch to feel like another GameCube era, to be honest. The GameCube era was pretty good because it felt like a natural continuation of what they were doing on the N64, but with better graphics. But the gameplay, feedbacks, and loops, like Super Mario Sunshine is a game I could replay almost infinitely, even with its flaws and levels that I'm not entirely enthusiastic about. I could replay it over and over again. It's just that much fun for me. And I know a lot of people didn't like Sunshine. The original Luigi's Mansion, the second Luigi's Mansion didn't even, or the third Luigi's Mansion rather, second is Dark Moon, that was decent. But Luigi's Mansion 3, it didn't really grab me enough to the point where I still haven't bought it. But I have bought Dark Moon and the first game. But this one, again, it's that same problem of, I looked at it and it's got good elements, but it doesn't look like something I would play through more than once. Whereas most of the earlier Nintendo games I would play through over and over and over again because they've got that positive feedback loop. And it's just not happening as much. And I really want to figure out why. I want to know why this is. Why Nintendo's games feel so different. It's not just that they're on the Switch, that they're on a different console. That shouldn't matter. But I notice the more I'm playing, like, N64 games and SNES games and games that I used to play growing up, they've got far more replayability, in my opinion. So it's not just nostalgia, it's I'm actually playing them, and the feedback loop is far more satisfying. Because a lot of people will say, oh, well, you just talk about how great these old games are. No, I actually go and play them, and continue to play them because they're fun. It's not just nostalgia. It's actual fun. And I'm not having it to that same degree with these newer games. And I wish I knew why. But the point of this video is to say that I would not be surprised if ultimately what's happening is Nintendo is in decline. And that we will see a decline in quality. I sincerely hope not. I'm a Nintendo-based channel. I love Nintendo. They're my favorite gaming company of all time. They've made the most consistent, fun experiences throughout gaming history. Even the ones that I've said I haven't gone back to, they're still fun, even on one playthrough. I don't want to see Nintendo decline, but it seems like they are. There's all sorts of culture problems in and outside the company, and I don't know. It's not great. And then there's the online. They just kind of have botched their online experiences. The only halfway decent one is Mario Kart, but the rest of them have been hit or miss. You know, Splatoon works sometimes, but they haven't really jumped into the online sphere very well. And then there's the online subscription service over the Virtual Console. Don't even get me started on that. That's another sign of sort of their weird, or that's more on the business practice side of things. But it's just weird. I don't know what's happening to Nintendo, but I don't like it. I want old Nintendo back. I want the Nintendo that drew me in as a kid and continues to draw me in as an adult. I want these fun experiences that I can continue to play for years to come. And I want that to come from their newer titles, but it doesn't feel like it is. You know, it's just going to be a matter of waiting and seeing what happens next, because, you know, we're waiting for Breath of the Wild 2. Obviously, another 3D Mario following up to Odyssey would be nice, and who knows what else. Who knows what else they've got, but I hope they're really taking their time and making stuff that people want to go back to. You know, because there is a lot of positive stuff there, but I just got this sinking feeling that that decline is just right around the corner. Anyways, folks, let me know what you think. Is Nintendo in decline or not? So, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. This has been Super Koopa. God bless. Have a good one. Peace.